Good.
Good morning. What is going on, all you profitable stylists and all you future profitable stylists out there?
We're live already?
We are live.
Oh, let's talk about some hair extensions today. I
That's
have
what we're
seen
talking
some cringe-worthy, wrong angle. It's crazy. RJ was actually doing a little research, and we're looking at some keratin bonds. And I think he's seen me do them so good and so right for so long that when he saw this girl as he's doing some splicing and editing for our videos, he sends it to him and he's like, you got to see this. Now, granted, this is a few years old for her, but then after we show hers, we're going to do a little reaction video. And I wish I could do the big eyes, but we're going to do a little reaction video and see the just the technique. And, this is for training purposes only. We're not we're not trying to make fun of someone else. But thank you to this company for doing the bond so wrong. Then we'll use some of my videos are even older. I think this girl's videos are like 5 years old, and mine I think are like 8 years old when I was in the beginning of trying to put videos together. So I'm a little skinnier. My hair's a little more colored. I'm a little lighter brown these days. My hair is so dark. I just noticed in those videos. But the angle, and I'll go into a little more detail, and you can see it in a minute. You want to set it up anymore, or you want to go right into it?
No, I'm ready for it. Yeah. And that's what this is all about. We talk about these angles all the time. And so that's really what the purpose of reviewing this and reacting to this is.
Yeah. And I have never heard of this company before. So I don't know if they're still in business or not. And maybe they're even better now at doing the technique, or they have a different educator. But let's go ahead and start the video. And we might just turn the video sound down on that end so we can keep talking. Are you playing?
Just turning the sound down. Hold on a second. All right, here we go.
Okay. We don't need to hear.
So you want me to mute it?
Yeah, I think so. We don't need to hear her talking necessarily, but let it play through. And we'll talk about what she's doing, because we watched this video a few times. And the part I do agree with here is a nice, clean part. And she is talking about the size of that section. And she says you want a nice square section. And I agree. I like a square section, of course.
And I like how she's removing a couple of loose hairs. She's removing a couple of loose hairs that is sticking out of her little square section that she's trying to take.
Wait a minute. You said it wasn't square a minute ago.
What's supposed to be a square section, not a rectangular section.
I said I like that you're doing a square section. Eddie says it's not a square. It's not.
She was explaining that she took a square section, but her section was like rectangular. Yeah. But what I do like is that she is taking the loose hair to try to make it as even as possible.
Sure.
This is a personal hang up of mine. It is what it is. I've seen people use other things.
Let it play. Let it play while you're talking.
When you're using a tail comb like that, I just prefer the metal tail combs. They're skinnier, they're thinner, and you can get a lot more cleaner lines than using these.
That's exactly what I was thinking. That plastic tail comb has such a fat tip. I want to put it in a pencil sharpener.
So then heat shield. Heat shield is good. You always want to protect the head, the scalp from the heat, and you also want to open the shield before you put it in.
Open the slit. And pause right when you want to talk about the mouth. But,
so right here, okay, she's got the heat shield in. Some clients are like, or some stylists tell me, I don't use a heat shield because I don't have to worry about burning the client's head. But you still got to keep your section clean, because if you don't use a shield, you can't guarantee that you'll touch another hair from another section and then combine it into the bond that you're placing. Now, if you pay attention to her palm, she's got the clip that she's going to use to hold the shield up on the head. She's got it in the palm of her hand. Okay. And it happens really, really, really fast. So I'm just going to talk it out so then you can see it happen. She's got it in the palm of her hand. She puts the shield down. She's holding it with her left hand. She drops her hand to try to get the clip out of her palm into her fingertips. Can't do it. So you'll see her hand go off screen up in the air because she's putting the clip in her mouth so she can grab it. And then the hand will come back down and she'll clip it back in place. It's about to happen really fast. Such a hairdresser thing to do.
It is. And it's common.
There it goes. And now it comes back.
Yeah. a
And I'm
little wetter.
laughing hysterically because, they talk about sanitation and stuff. We all
Yeah.
shove the thing in our
Too
mouth.
many. A lot of stylists do it. So I mean, no super critique here. We just think it's funny. We notice it because we make so many videos, and technically nothing is supposed to go in your mouth when you're doing hair.
Now, why was she twisting that hair after she had it in the shield?
That's just hairdressers. We love touching, petting, curling, twirling hair. I mean, it's the same thing like when I'm holding a section and I'm getting ready to heat it, and not me, but I'm watching a hairdresser. They're getting ready to heat the bond, and they just start dragging the other hand the hair because they want to pet the hair. We love stroking and petting hair, the feel of it. And all that's doing is pulling hair out of the section that we're working on. In this case, it should be wide and flat and as wide as it could possibly be. There's no reason to twist it unless you're doing dreads. And then she's using a U-tip instead of a flat tip. That doesn't really matter. As a matter of fact, she says she preheats this tip. She should be pre-cutting that tip too. It's just way too big. Doesn't fit in her tool when she goes to heat it up in a minute. But it just kills me how long it takes her to get this thing in place. I'm dying. I'm like, girl, you're going to take 6 hours to do this head of extensions with your cheap Chinese tool that you're heating this thing up with. And I've tested these Chinese tools. She says the temperature. Eddie goes straight to Google to see what that Celsius to Fahrenheit temperature was. And it was a good, safe, what?
518 degrees Fahrenheit. She says, I'm using 270, so the tool is hot. So we're just going to kind of tap, and we're going to go quick. You don't want to, because it is going to be hot. You don't want to burn yourself. So at least she's giving a warning and like a PSA about it, right?
Yeah. And you know what? Just to give her a little credit here, that the tool is touching that keratin before it touches any hair. That's pulling a lot of heat out. It's not the heat going directly on the hair. If you were to put the bottom part of the tool, I just hit my mic. If you put the bottom part of the tool on the keratin and let it sink in a little bit before you touch the top for that second or two, still 500 and any degrees is way more than necessary. But at least it's not touching the client's hair directly unless she closes the tool quick. And I can't remember that part. She probably does.
Well, he's about to find
out. Go ahead.
Keep
playing it because this part is so unnecessary, but it does prove. Yeah, preheating, but it's all cooled off by the time.
But these U-tip style bonds, Bernard, they're so hard.
This is the biggest problem. 90 degrees from the head. No, and a bad camera angle. Come on, girl. Let's get the camera on the side where we can see or up above. But she has to tap so she don't burn the hair off, and she has to tap because she can't heat the whole bond up in one spot. She's got to heat it here.
It'll disintegrate. Yeah.
Well, she's got to heat it in multiple places because the bond's too big to fit in the tool. Why not just cut it to fit in the tool? Look, she's trying to lay it down and it's popping up. I think this is how you create volume.
This is instant volume this is instant volume and instant headache for the first 24 hours. This is why we recommend to take Tylenol or aspirin before you come in.
We don't. That's why so many other people do. I did in the very beginning. Hey, listen, this is why we know that this is all wrong and bad. We did this.
It's wild. It's really wild. But this is just showing like people still do this. And this is what makes me crazy in class.
Yeah.
When people come in to learn the newer techniques and they still go and do this and they swear by this by default.
And I mostly do a flat bond if I'm going to do keratin at all. Unless I'm doing half or smaller ones. And that is a benefit to a K-tip keratin bond is that you can customize the size. And I love that. You can make smaller bonds, half bonds, thirds of a bond, fourth of a bond, and barely see it. But look, I like that you're just playing this out because it is killing me at how much she fiddles with one bond. Look, she's trying.
I love the rubbing the heat across the edges. I always see the tap, 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 tap. I always see people trying to touch heat to the bond without transferring heat to the bond. And the language matters. Like the technicality of it matters so much. I understand it's high heat and I understand you can't leave it on for too long, but I don't know what this is doing. I never understood what the tapping does other than you're hardening the bond that much more, which is making it less pliable to manipulate it into the size and the shape that you want it to be. So it's painful to watch this.
Well, I think what's going on, you can let it play. I think what's going on is she's heating the middle of that bond maybe a little too closer, and the top and the bottom aren't in the tool, so they're flared out and still big.
So I just want to rewind that for 1 second. Look at how beautiful that volume is. Look at how that is sticking up straight off the head.
Post that right to the sarcasm Facebook page.
Yeah.
Sarcasm.
But this is that waterfalling that we talk about, though, and this is how
the pain. Oh my God!
It's going to snap. It's not going to grow out like
right. So this is where the damage comes that gives us all a bad name in the hair extension business. Now, this you giving us a break from her or what? So
I got to switch to the other video.
So this is where the damage comes from. That torque, that tension, I call it a crowbar. It's like we're sticking a crowbar in her head. We're gonna pull down and pull those hairs right out of the head. There's just no way that is comfortable for any amount of time. The first day, second day, and then after a few days when it starts to grow out, I don't know if you get that angle, but if they're all pulling like this, and then when it eventually pulls down, those bottom hairs are gonna just curl up, and the top hairs are gonna grow. So now you're only connected to the few hairs at the top of the section if those bottom ones stay in, but more than likely those top ones are stressed so much they pop out, boop, 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 and go to the next one and the next. So you end up forcing a little more shedding than what would normally happen. You end up I say shedding, it's a slow waxing process. It's a slow hair removal. I don't know if that's better than fast. Fast might be more damaging because listen, the whole purpose, I don't know if people talk about this as much anymore, but in the beginning days of waxing, like the eyebrows, the face, whatever on the body, the whole point was we're damaging the follicles on purpose so that hair will stop growing or come back weaker. So we never grow hair in these areas again because we're trying to remove the hair, and then they brought in electrolysis where you would grab each hair and shoot some electricity down in there just to maybe. I just lost my internet a couple of days ago because lightning struck our house or something. And so I think it's kind of like that, lightning striking each hair follicle. And, I got to meet the cable guy today at 3:00 and try to get that fixed. We've been 2 days without internet. So I think that's what you're trying to do is destroy the internet inside of each one of those hairs in the scalp, right? And so
if there's no Wi-Fi, it can't grow. You can't connect. You can't do anything.
Right. No connection.
The Wi-Fi.
No connection. And so with hers, she's, let's talk about, there's always a gray area or a range, right? It's not all or none. People with very strong, coarse, thick hair that would probably not even hurt their head, probably stay in fine. They'd have extensions and love it. And they would benefit maybe from a little volume that they do not need, right? But the fine thin hair people are getting damage. And so that's why it's all across the board. And one hairdresser who does all bad techniques will say, well, not everybody's hair falls out or has damage. It must be some customers just don't know how to take care of their hair. That's where they get confused.
Let me cue up the next one because the next one makes more sense. It'll bring this all in.
Is it a smarter person?
I don't know.
Who is that young guy? Put us at the bottom, Eddie. There you go.
I'm working on it. Where is it?
No, we're moving all around.
Get it full screened. Here we go. I got myself.
So this is me about 8 years ago, I think, doing a round bond. I think we're also going to show a flat bond, but I don't care if you play the volume or not because we can talk it through again also. But let it play whenever you can and maybe move forward.
You've got it sectioned off already.
Yep.
The other thing automatically I want to point out, you see how much lower the head is? You see how your shoulders are more comfortable and dropped? You're not reaching up into it, so you're not over directing, which is naturally going to add to that 90 degrees straight off the head and cause that water falling.
You mentioned that with the other lady. You were like, I think that she's got her mannequin head too high. So
yeah, that's right. I forgot about that because I don't know if it was because of sometimes when we're filming video, we have to do things that we normally don't do for the sake of the camera seeing rather than us being comfortable. And it is annoying trying to shoot video sometimes under those conditions. But obviously, to me, obviously she didn't care about the camera angle as much, or they didn't think it through. They had the good sense to have two cameras because the one camera was on her right side. She's right-handed. That's a huge no-no. if you're right-handed, the camera must be on your left to look over your shoulder to see what's happening. That's why you couldn't see what she was doing when she was initially holding the hair and rolling it and all of that. But they had the good sense to have a close-up camera, so at least you could see that a little bit better. But regardless, she was still way too high up onto that head, and that added to it coming off 90 degrees off that head like that. Yeah. So, like I said, already I'm happy looking at this. I'm not cringing because you've got the head at least right. Let's see if you can section correctly.
I don't know if I show the sectioning on this one. When we do the round bond, I think I show the sectioning more. But I'm just talking about the angle right now. When I go to heat that that bond up, especially with this round bond, I'm going in at a 90-degree angle, and there's a flat part in that tool. I'm using a flat bond. You could use any shape bond, but look, I don't let go with my left hand. Some people let go with their left hand or slide their left hand down. And while that keratin bond is hot, it's soft, it's not holding the, let it keep playing. Let it keep playing.
I want to point something out too. I just realized.
Go ahead.
I got to compliment you. Your pinky and your ring finger is making physical contact to the client's head. And then you've got the bond held in your other two fingers. That forces you to stay down at natural fall. By forcing that physical contact, you are not physically allowing yourself to come up 90 degrees off that head. So that's actually a good bonus. That's a good plus.
So the second time I'm heating the bond, I'm talking about coming in at a 45-degree angle, because the first time you heat it, that bond is going to grow or stretch or just spread a little. So at a 45-degree angle, I can cover a little more distance, high and low. And a little bit that's spread up and down. See, I'm showing it tapers the bond from little at the top to little at the bottom, a little fatter in the middle. Yeah. I always called it a pregnant minnow, but it's supposed to look a little fat, like a little fat belly in the middle. Not so fat, and then just kind of taper at each end. Can you let's go ahead and show her. That was a flat bond. No, that was a round bond.
That was the round, that was a rolled round bond.
Yeah.
I like that because it lays a lot flatter, and coming in tight to wider to tighter again, you're locking it in and you're protecting it. So then this way product or moisture or water, whatever, doesn't get in there and get trapped and over saturate, overinflate, and blow up that bond. So overall, it's just more comfortable.
So don't get me wrong. We've done a lot of videos on wefts, and people are like, do you guys even do individual bonds anymore? I would say that there's still a time and place, probably for any and every extension out there. But the majority of the time, to make the money for the time and the money and the reusability from a client, there's some, I'm seeing this new weft that we've been using, the on-stage weft, but forget that for just a minute and just think about combining techniques, because that is what I'm seeing that is most successful in most places. I saw a guy, I complimented him. He's a newer TikToker, YouTuber. He's not a new hairdresser. He's got some experience, obviously, but the headline that got me, because I'm money motivated. I like the money side of it first before the relationships. I love the relationships, but don't get me wrong. I got a family to support. I'm trying to survive, and I am conscious about, am I making money with the job that I'm doing? And his video starts off with $9,000 job. And I was like, and he's a hairdresser? What's he doing? 12 hours, one hair extension client, $9,000. I haven't been able to figure out what city he's in yet. He doesn't have a lot of videos, but he's got a few where he's naming how much money he's making. And he does 2 wefts. Now, this girl, this blonde, she came from another hairdresser, he said, and she's damaged, broken. He said, but just watch, because he said he can perform miracles, and he was going to do it on her. And he did 2 wefts down low in the back for fullness and speed. But of course, he bleached her roots and processed her hair, and then he put a lot of keratin bonds in, but that was all up in this area. And I commented because it was such a beautiful job. The keratin bond looked like a lot like the one I just did. The angle was good. There was enough hair to support the weight of the bond. It was heated. You know, when somebody heats the bond without tapping, they're using a low temperature. He heats the bond and just waits for a few seconds. And that means your temperature's low, so you're not going to burn the hair, but because you're waiting for heat to penetrate, but you got to use a little pressure also to see that bond spread and absorb enough heat to be manipulated. So he did all that, and I can just tell, like you could tell that girl put the clip in her mouth. You know, we've got so much experience doing the wrong things. Also, we've got so much experience doing the good and the bad and the ugly and the camera positions that we'll notice some of this off-screen stuff that you don't see. You just have to, what's happening when the hands are gone. You know where they are, up, down. You can kind of tell from the shoulders too. And so all of his angling and positioning was good. He didn't talk while he's doing it, because some people can't talk and work at the same time. So he just films it all, and then he does a voiceover explaining what he's doing. And it's fine. I like to talk while I'm working to explain what I'm doing exactly when I'm doing it. But his voiceover went great, and I complimented it. So let's show what we kind of moved into. And while you're doing that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference in a round bond and a flat bond. And, we moved to flat bonds, and I loved them for a while. And, I went through this phase where I'm like, only flat bonds. But then, you know what? When we started cutting them half and thirds and fourths and teeny tiny little bonds, well, that's really hard to fold a flat bond. And then it hit me. Hair on a microscopic level is round. Whew, God, look how young and white I look. Eddie, I'm as white as you. So, so a round bond, when it's teeny tiny, is going to blend in with round hair better. But when it's so when I'm doing little bitty bonds in the bangs or around the hairline, a round bond does actually blend and disappear better when you comb or brush or style. But when you're doing a bigger bond and trying to get more bulk faster, then I like a flat bond, because if you're going to stack 2 or 3 rows of 80, 90, 100 bonds, the flat bond is going to fit so much closer to the head. It's just as fast and easy to do, unless it's your first time or 10th time. It takes a little practice getting the technique down, but go ahead and play it, and let's go ahead and watch.
Before I play it, you have a question. There's no chance you happen to remember who that person was when you were watching his video. You didn't follow him or anything, did you?
Me or who's asking?
You have a comment asking if you happen to remember who that video was that you were talking about.
Do you know who it is?
I do not know who. I don't know. I didn't pay attention to the
our
name.
video's over half her face, so I think it's Abby. I think it's RJ's oldest daughter is why he's asking, probably. But yeah.
The video that you commented on, that new TikToker.
Because I was using a mannequin in the first video, Abby on this one, and you could look at that other video and see the company name. I thought you were trying to tell me that somebody's asking who this is we were looking at. I don't know that. I don't know that educator at all.
The kid that you saw the video, the $9,000 12-hour job.
Oh my God! I still am not getting the question right. No, I don't know that one either. I told you I didn't know where he was from. I'll try to look it up, and I could probably find it right
so
now.
That answers the comment. There you go.
It'll be on my recently watched through. There he is again.
Oh, here, I'm gonna play it now. I'm gonna play your video now so we can see the flat.
You play it, and I'm gonna show you the guy. He's got. Let's see. Oh, Zach Mesquit. I don't know how to say it. This is.
Hold on, let me pull this up bigger.
This is the name, and this is the guy.
Okay. So there you go. There's a shout out to Zach.
Yeah, and he doesn't have a ton of videos, but he does some pretty good work. It was fun to watch, because he's like 9,000, 8,000. He tells the amount of money he's making. I'm like, you go, guy. We should. If anybody knows him, tell him we'd love to interview him here and talk.
That is the fun and the power of doing keratin bonds. I love talking about that in classes. It's it really is powerful.
There's a lot of customizability. Play me play. Here we go. I don't think I want to hear my old voice. I was so much. I don't know. I guess you get better and better over time. And I was trying to be so professional. Look at my ombre shirt. You saw it was lighter blue at the bottom, dark blue at the top. All right, here's
now look at that square section. Now
watch how I measure it. I take the keratin bond, the top of it, turn it sideways, and I'm like, see, the width of that bond should be the width of the section, and then I turn the bond sideways. That's the width of the section. Then I turn it sideways.
This part is so important
to get this. Now I can be sure every single section's the same.
Too many people do not pull the hair section to the side to check it vertically. They only check it horizontal, or they only check it horizontally. They don't check it enough vertically. Having that perfect square section to support the weight of the bond. This is how I'm always talking about. I don't care if you have thin, fine hair, soft hair, delicate hair, compromised hair. As long as you have enough hair to fit the width of that bond, horizontal and vertical, you could get enough hair in that section, then that section will support the weight of a bond. If it's not, move over to, move over a quarter of an inch or however much.
Don't pause again where I look stupid.
Don't pause again where you never look stupid, Bernard.
So look, we trimmed the bond down. That was a big mistake. You put this down.
Yeah,
that was a big mistake she was making. She left that bond really long, and that's why she was having to tap to try to cover more of that.
And that's why it sticks so hard off the head too. The less material you have in the head, the less chances there are for something to go wrong. And it's far more comfortable. It's far more comfortable to wear it when you cut the bond down smaller.
And I'm talking about
it's going to fit in the tool so you can control your heat better too.
That's what I'm talking about right there, is that it fits in the tool better. And I'm using a lot lower heat, so I'm not having to do any tapping. But I'm all for trying to save some money. And
I remember that machine. Those were the 120 heat machines.
But still,
250 degrees Fahrenheit.
But still, that tool has a lot more Teflon coating on the end, or the right kind of Teflon coating. It's an expensive tool. We sell it, but it doesn't seem, the keratin doesn't build up on it as much. And if it builds up a little, you can just wipe it right off and it comes off. I've used the cheap Chinese tools also, and you generally do have to heat them up a little more. I don't know if it's because the coating works differently with the bond or something. But once the goo adhesive starts building up on the end of that tool, it's hard to keep clean. And that tool she had that divot and that bump that went together and a flat part. It's hard to clean out of that divot. So look, here we go. I'm holding it down in a natural fall, as much of a natural fall position as possible. This is the difference. Yeah, I'm showing right there. Like, you don't want it to kind of loop out or waterfall. So I'm giving just enough room for my finger to get under there, centering it up. You can put the bond on top or on the bottom. I happen to have it
easier from underneath. It's 10,000 times easier from underneath.
I'm giving just enough room to get underneath there, give it a squeeze, and just wait for it to spread. Pop it open, and I'm folding, and I don't let go with the left hand. I heat it up a second time and pop it on. Now I'm folding under. First time I folded up, now I'm folding under, and I mean that bond is the same color as the hair and the model's hair and the client and the extension, and it just disappears. Go ahead. I know you want to say
something. Notice how you pop the wand open really fast. Too many people, they have their bond. I think, are you talking about that right now? Yeah. You got to let it spread. I mean, that's really what this is about, and then you got to pop it open really, really fast so it doesn't stick.
You said it right when it happened. That was perfect timing.
Yeah, you really got to pop it open like that, because otherwise, the slower you let it roll off the bond, the more it's going to stick, the more it's going to string, the more it's going to pull apart.
You know what I've always compared it to, and it's kind of silly putty. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Not everybody's played with silly putty, but we all learn kind of the hard way or the fun way or just playing with it. When you're stretching that stuff, it'll stretch super, super long. But if you're pulling and you pull fast, it'll break. And so I kind of learned that accidentally here, is that I would open and I'm like, oh my God. And some people move the tool and swing it and spin all the extra stringy keratin around the tip of the tool and make a mess. And what I found is if I just pop it open and pull it away, it'll just stay where it is. Occasionally I have to go ahead.
I want to point something out, because you're explaining something right now, but look at how you're cradling the hair in your hand. Yeah. Oh, I got to rewind this for a second. Look how you're explaining, and you're cradling the hair in your hand. You've always got it pinched off. You're always holding it. And even when you're running your hands through the length of that hair, you're not stroking. You're not stroking through the hair. You're just always cradling the hair and holding it supported up top. That is such a huge thing, because when you first warm up a bond and then you pop it open, you let it go, okay? And then you manipulate it to fold it in. Although the heat was just put in, and now it's cooling down, it's not cured yet. It's not completely cold and cured yet. So that bond is still pliable. It's still soft. And I know we have this habit to pull and stroke hair and all of that stuff, but when you do that, it's bad because it will stretch. It'll stretch and it'll pull the bond. Like you got it close to the head, it'll stretch and pull it away from the head. So it's very, very important to fight your natural instinct to start.
Let me go into that detail a little bit more. First, I want to answer BV, and she's saying, "I see you didn't twist it." I'm going to answer two things here because I'm not 100% sure which twist she means. Earlier in the video, we were making fun of that other girl for twisting the hair in her finger, but BV might be talking about me not. She's also asking questions about round versus flat. So when we were rolling bonds and doing all whole bonds, flat bonds ended up being the new thing 20 years ago. And it was definitely harder at first, got easier, got better, and it ended up just being a better bond. But then when we started cutting them in half and thirds and fourths, I did notice that when you're using teeny tinier, smaller bonds, round would hide a little bit better in the hair and easier to do. Hard to heat twice and fold when you had such a teeny tiny bond. It would just disintegrate the keratin. So just heating it once and rolling it was all you can do for smaller bonds. Bigger bonds, flat bonds, way better, especially if you trim them short. But then the other thing that is one better than the other, I wouldn't say one's better than the other, just more comfortable, more invisible, less seen on the head depending on the size of the bond that I just described. Whew, that was a lot. Blanca. I think she's coming to one of my classes here in the near future. I think I saw it on my calendar. Yeah, so we did a flat bond and a round bond. I think I covered everything. Did I cover everything? Oh, the stretching. I wanted to cover the stretching. So you're talking about stretching. So I don't know if stretching is the right word, but I know what you're saying. So
I don't know how else to describe it other than
the client's hair isn't moving. You put the keratin bond here. It's so big, and then you start to heat it up. But people are holding down here with their other hand. While they're heating, they start petting, sliding, stroking the hair. Even if
or they've got the death grip with tension. That's another thing that I see a lot, you know?
Well, so when they're heating here and they're pulling here, the client's hair and the extension hair and keratin is doing this. It's sliding down, but it's leaving some keratin up here and growing keratin down here. So that bond you cut smaller so that it would be a lower profile ends up being longer and bigger because it just got stretched, as you said.
I don't know what
slid down, and you left some keratin up high and then some down low. And so as you heat it and everything's sliding down, you're just spreading keratin in places it didn't need to be. But worse than that, the keratin, let's imagine this fist here is a chunk of keratin, and it's holding a grouping of hairs like this, right? So when you're heating that keratin over the top with a tool and it's sliding down, it's not just all nice and neatly sliding. You're losing some of this keratin that was made to grip these hairs right here. My hand was in front of the mic. Hope you could hear me good. These hairs right here. So now that keratin gets stretched and left behind up here where it's doing no good at all. It's just on the client's hair, not holding these hairs. And sometimes these hairs here at the same time are sliding out. And look, there's my shorter hair. It's barely in the keratin anymore. And so it just falls out and sheds. So you're promoting less hold, less support, bigger, uglier keratin, harder to hide, and then more hair loss, shedding, slipping, sliding, falling out, whatever you want to call it. So ask us how we know this. Because Eddie did all this wrong and I corrected him. We've all done it wrong.
You learn these the very, very hard way. You learn this over the years of suffering. More than ever, the best way to learn is when you have to do removals. So if you are interested in getting good at doing keratin style hair extensions, keratin tip hair extensions, get good at removing. Going through the painful process of removing a bad keratin job will make you such a better installer. Oh my God, will it improve your installation process? You will pay attention and respect the installation so much more when you have to break your wrist trying to take out a rough extension.
Yeah, there's nothing like experience. I mean, even after a few years thinking I had gotten it down really good, I was good at this. I went with, the shorter I cut that bond, the more invisible it was. until it was so invisible it fell out the head. It was real invisible. And so I had almost a whole head just falling and slipping out of the head because I cut the bond too small, because I thought smaller is better. Smaller is better, smaller is better, till even smaller was not better anymore. So there, smaller is better till it's not. So, I mean, you gotta make your mistakes to learn. And so I had to replace a full head. Now, the biggest downside to K-tips, keratin tips, is it takes so freaking long to put them in and so freaking long to take them out. So I don't love the application or the removal process anymore, but there's something about how well K-tips, keratin bonds stay in. So the time between putting them in and taking them out is longer than most other techniques, just because of the way the bond is done. It's less added outside material on there. Even our O-tips, as much as I love them, there's a ring, a bead, a little round thing that's in there, and so it's a little added. And yes, it's reusable, it's fast, it's easy. The removal, the reapplication goes so quick that it's hard to pass it up. And then when you move to a weft, it's even faster because there's no string or sewing or gluing. But I don't think the K-tip's ever going to go away. I think it's always going to be like that, I don't know, that Rolls Royce or Bentley. Some people are just going to want the best at whatever cost. And so
there's a place for everything. There's a market and there's a place for everything. There's things that the weft's done exceptionally well. The reusable strands do exceptionally well. And then there's a thing where keratin bonds and K-tips, they do that exceptionally well. And so everything has its own place. I love keratin bonds. I love all hair extensions. Well, I love hair extensions. I don't love all application techniques. There are some application techniques I can't stand, but I do love all types of hair extensions in general, right? Because it adds more volume, it adds more fullness, it adds more weight, it gives you coloring options. It's not just all about length all the time. We can fix haircuts and styles. We can give clients haircuts and styles that they never imagined they can have before. So there's a lot of strength, there's a lot of positivity involved with it. As far as the removing process goes, I mean, you could, in a pinch, use Everclear. I wouldn't recommend using it all the time because that should be used for making drinks, not for, I think that's alcohol abuse. I think we got to call CPS on you or something, or what's the liquor equivalent? We got to call a bartender on you. But there's everybody's going to remove it their own ways. There is a technique that I teach called the zero trace bonding technique. And you don't even need a remover solution to remove these bonds. That's how gentle of an application process it is. So there is a way to do it. It's what you are willing to do compared to what your client needs. So like, those charts and then they go off the chart like that. So you got to look at what are you willing to do versus what is your client's need. And if you build that chart, somewhere in there is the right answer as far as time spent versus necessity. Should you use a beaded? Should you use a weft? Should you use a reusable? Should you use tape once in a while? Should you use, keratin bonds, the sewing, the hand tying, the gluing, the braiding? I mean, there's so many different, even clip-ins. There's so many different kinds. I don't even know what I'm missing half the time.
Right. There's a few techniques out there. I went to Paris one time to a manufacturer, and they gave me a box of hair, all the exact same ombre color, because I don't know, 10 years ago, ombre was super popular. And it was about 8 or 9, maybe 10 different techniques of styles of hair between individual strands and wefts. And do you know there was 2 or 3 in there that I still have in my office? No idea. I mean, I ended up figuring out one, but one was 2 bonds with some threading around it with a thread connecting the 2. So it was 2 bonds with a string. So I don't know if you hang that over something. I don't know if you do a bead on the string in the middle and you got 2 bonds hanging. So maybe you get double the hair for the section you hang. There was another one that had like a real clear silicone at the top of what looked like sort of like a keratin bond, and then it had like a little skinny, stringy, stretchy tail. And I think it was the start of, back then, I think it was the start of mini or micro bonds, because micro bonds or micro beads, like we use for the onstage extensions, I learned this the hard way. We had a party at our house last 2 weekends ago, and my daughter asked me, can you bring pink hair home? My daughter wants pink hair. Brandon was supposed to do it during the week. I said, let's just do it at the party. We're having all the kids over. I said, all the other little girls in the party will probably want pink hair. So I'll bring a little bit of pink hair home, and I'll bring some beads home. Now, here's the problem. Our onstage line doesn't do fantasy colors yet. And so it was a she line. We had the Dior extensions, keratin bonds. And I thought, I'll just heat it up, roll it, and use it like an eye tip. And we'll just use the beads from the onstage side.
Ooh, okay, yeah.
Couldn't fit it in the beads. Cut them in half. I made 2 out of 1, still couldn't fit it in the bigger of the 2 beads. That's when I realized, wow, our beads are small.
They're tiny, man.
Small that it's, some people would say, well, is that good or bad? Well, it's good because we're not usually putting an eye inside the bead also, just the client's hair. And we can put a lot of hair in that little small bead when it's just the hair. So our technique holds a little differently. And I got to experience trying through experience to marry 2 techniques together that didn't work so well. We had to cut these bonds into thirds. So they had much smaller little pink strands than they wanted. These little girls wanted big, bold pink strands, so we just had to put more of them in. We had to cut them down to a third and roll them really small to get them into a small, not a micro. We had to put it in a small bead, and it still barely fit, but it worked. And some of them we just decided to heat and just roll in like we did in the video just now, instead of using a bead. I wanted to make it a little more easy for the daughter and daughter-in-laws to be able to take this out later in the week if they needed to from their little girl's hair, the grandchildren. But I don't know. I ended up letting Brennan and Mallory do all this. So I'm not sure how many they use beads and how many they heated in. But it was still fun because I found some old clip-in feathers and stuff that we used to sell around here that we haven't touched in years. But it gave me some good experience of like how people marry techniques together and give it a try. And that's kind of where the sew-in wefts were born out of. We've been sewing wefts in forever, but then when you started to try to add a bead to it, we just used the bead to eliminate the braid or cornrow or cable along the scalp. And I get it. I totally get it. But all we did was it's still hard. All that sewing is still a ridiculous time-consuming thing. And just not using string and sewing and beads against the scalp before the weft goes in is a smarter thing. And that's where our onstage wefts and strands came in. The bead already connected to the weft is so much faster and easier. Why not use that instead? I know this video is not about that, but I'm still passionate about that. And I wanted to mention it. Unless you have anything else to say, I think, Blanca says, I can't sew for shit. Yeah, I can sew, but I just don't love it. Why? When there's faster techniques. Don't sew me up, glue me together. If I fall apart, glue me back together like Humpty Dumpty.
Yeah, with Gorilla Glue, right? Yeah, right.
That's right. Well, I'm done. Unless you have anything else.
No, I mean that's pretty much it. That's our review. That's our reaction. I like flat bonds. I don't like rolled bonds. I got my reasons for it. I think
I like flat bonds, and I will not lie.
And I will not lie. So yeah. So that's if you have any other questions about keratin bonds, if you want to talk about it a little bit more, reach out to us. Let me know. Get set up a call. I'll spend time with you. Bernard will spend time with you, and we'll go over it. We'll go over it with you. I talk to people all the time, and then it's funny because after a phone call, most of the time they want to come into the office and they just want to see it because they just can't believe how they're hearing it over the phone. And then they come into the office, we show them what's up, we give them a little preview, and then they end up signing for a class inevitably. So it all works itself out. It's really, really fun. And we like helping people. So that's what I got for you. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Stella, have fun in your class with Bernard that you're signed up for, and we will catch you all next week.